Good morning, class. For today's lesson is about Unit 2, Lesson 4, Forms of Tangible and Intangible Heritage. Okay, so before we discuss our lesson, let us first know what are the required learning objective for this lesson. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to give the meaning of tangible and intangible heritage, and also you identify the threats of tangible and intangible heritage. Okay, so let us first know what is cultural heritage. According to John Feder, cultural heritage is a human creation intended to inform. An example for this is architectures, such as buildings, houses, and structures. And also artifacts like books, documents, objects, image, clothing, accessories, and jars. And also all the things that made people who they are, like oral stories, values, law, norms, rituals, and so on and so forth. So, basically, cultural heritage is a representation of the ways of living established by society or group and passed on from generation to generation. So, cultural heritage can be categorized as either tangible or intangible. Okay, now let's move on to what is the meaning of tangible. So, tangible means perceptible, touchable, concrete, or physical. A tangible heritage is a physical artifact or object significant to the archaeology, architecture, or science. Objects then that can be stored are included in this category. Like traditional clothing, utensils such as beadwork or water vessels, vehicles such as ox wagon. Some documents also like codes, laws, land titles, and literature. And also public works and architecture built and constructed by a cultural group. An example for these buildings, historical places, monuments, temples, graves, roads, and bridges fall into this category as well. So that is the meaning of tangible heritage. Okay, let's discuss what is intangible heritage. Uh, the intangible, it is the opposite of tangible. Unlike tangible heritage, an intangible heritage is not physical or concrete item. Intangible heritage is that which exists intellectually in the culture. An example for this are songs, myth, belief, superstitions, oral poetry, stories, and various forms of traditional knowledge such as ethnobotanical knowledge. So that is some of example of intangible cultural heritage. Okay, now let's proceed to what are the threats to tangible and intangible heritage. So, cultural heritage is exposed to numerous disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, cyclones, and increasingly from human-induced hazard. Um, there was a time in contemporary history when museums were in constant search and hurry to look for historical materials to display. Due to the ascent of demand for cultural materials, opportunists saw this as an avenue for them to earn money. So they invented materials and claimed that these were excavated or unearthed and once owned by a cultural group. So these threats have caused serious damage to tangible and intangible attributes of cultural heritage sites, ranging from historic buildings, museum, historic settlements such as cultural landscape. So, to prevent these threats to tangible and intangible heritage, ICOMOS or Advisory Committee Symposium in Beijing prepared a brief strategies and techniques for reducing risk to disasters on the following five sub-themes, namely techniques and strategies for motivating risk to cultural heritage from human-caused disaster. 2. Methodology and tools for undertaking risk assessment of cultural heritage. And 3. Protecting cultural heritage in times of conflict and other emergencies. 4. Planning for post-disaster recovery of cultural heritage. And the last one is the awareness raising and capacity building for managing disaster risk to cultural heritage. So these five sub-teams were prepared by ICOMOS or Advisory Committee Symposium in Beijing to prepared for to prevent these threats to our tangible and intangible heritage. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson in Unit 2, Lesson 4, Forms of Tangible and Intangible Heritage. So for your activity for next week, look at the table below. It's 1 to 10. Check the examples if they are tangible cultural heritage or intangible cultural heritage. Just put a check if it is in tangible or intangible cultural heritage. So thank you class for listening and see you next week. Bye.